Between 1960 and 1990, soul music gave the world its greatest voices. And behind almost every one of those voices was a war nobody clapped for, fought quietly in hotel rooms, tour buses, and empty houses long after the record stopped spinning.
Across 110th Street.
This is R&BGROOVELore, and tonight we are counting down 17 legends from that golden era who smiled through the spotlight while privately battling depression, addiction, bipolar disorder, and trauma the public was never allowed to see. Stay with me all the way to number 1, because that story still stops people cold decades later, and if you have ever performed okay while falling apart inside, this list was made for you. Number 17, Chaka Khan, Through the Fire, 1985. Chaka Khan built her legend in the 70s and 80s as the voice behind Ain't Nobody and I'm Every Woman, the undisputed queen of funk. Long after her biggest hits, Chaka has openly admitted she battled addiction for years, saying in interviews the drugs started as a way to numb emotional pain that fame never actually fixed. She eventually got clean, but it took repeated attempts, and she has said publicly that watching a close friend die the same way she was using scared her into finally taking treatment seriously.
I need you so I'm ready to go.
Listen to Through the Fire now, a song literally about surviving something painful to reach something better, and it plays less like a metaphor and more like a warning she wrote to herself.
But I believe that we've only just...
Number 16, Luther Vandross, Never Too Much, 1981.
Hung up the phone, can't be too late. The boss is so
Luther Vandross broke through in 1981 with Never Too Much, instantly announcing the smoothest baritone R&B had heard in years. But privately, Luther battled a lifelong cycle of emotional eating that he linked directly to his mental state, once telling a magazine that when he was emotionally distraught, eating was the only thing that took the edge off the pain. That cycle of weight gain, weight loss, and emotional strain shadowed his entire career, worsened by the pressure of hiding parts of his private life from a public that adored him. Every time Never Too Much plays, you are hearing the voice of a man who spent his whole career performing effortless confidence while quietly carrying a weight the audience never saw. Number 15, Sly Stone, Family Affair, 1971. Sly Stone and the Family Stone were the most electrifying live act to come out of the late 1960s, blending soul, funk, and psychedelic rock into something nobody had heard before. By the time Family Affair hit number 1 in 1971, Sly was already deep into cocaine and PCP use, missing shows, and slipping into drug-fueled paranoia so severe he reportedly believed his own bandmates were turning against him. He was arrested for drug possession multiple times over the following decades, spent stretches living out of a camper van, and later admitted in his own memoir that it took repeated hospital visits before he finally got serious about getting clean.
You can't stay 'cause you've been somewhere else.
Family Affair sounds like warmth and togetherness on the surface, but it was recorded by a man whose own family, the band, was already quietly falling apart around him. Number 14, Bobby Womack, Across 110 TH Street, 1972.
The capital of every ghetto town, across.
Bobby Womack co-wrote hits before he was 20 and mentored under Sam Cooke himself, only to watch Cooke get shot to death in 1964, a loss that haunted him for the rest of his life.
Oh, out in the street.
Across the following decades, he endured the accidental death of an infant son, the later suicide of another son, and his brother's murder, tragedies that friends say pushed him deeper into a cocaine addiction that lasted roughly 20 years.
Never die. You got to be strong.
He finally entered rehab at the end of the 1980s, later telling reporters he had watched friend after friend, from Sly Stone to Wilson Pickett, die from the same addiction he was fighting. Across 110th Street plays like a gritty street anthem, but it was written by a man who was already surviving more private grief than most people face in a lifetime. Number 13, Aretha Franklin, Respect, 1967. Aretha Franklin turned Respect into a civil rights and feminist anthem in 1967, and to this day it is one of the most powerful vocal performances ever recorded. But in the early 1980s, Aretha survived a terrifying bout of severe turbulence on a small twin-engine plane, an incident so traumatic that she never flew again for the rest of her life. For over 3 decades, the Queen of Soul crossed the entire country exclusively by custom tour bus, even skipping major events like inaugurations and funerals, because the fear that single flight left behind never fully loosened its grip. It is a strange kind of irony that the woman who demanded respect and control in her music spent decades quietly controlled by a fear she could never fully sing her way out of. Number 12, Curtis Mayfield, People Get Ready, 1965.
People get ready.
Curtis Mayfield wrote People Get Ready in 1965, a song so spiritually powerful it became an anthem of the civil rights movement almost overnight.
There's a train a-coming. You don't need no bed.
On August 13, 1990, while preparing his big comeback, a sudden gust of wind knocked over a lighting rig on an outdoor stage in Brooklyn, striking Curtis in the neck and leaving him paralyzed from the neck down at just 48 years old.
Open the doors of boredom.
Doctors told him he would never walk or play guitar again, and in later interviews he admitted the emotional weight of that loss was almost harder to survive than the injury itself. Yet Curtis kept recording, singing lying flat on his back so gravity would not collapse his lungs, refusing to let the accident silence the voice behind People Get Ready. Number 11, Florence Ballard, Where Did Our Love Go, 1964. Florence Ballard helped found the Supremes, and Where Did Our Love Go was the 1964 single that turned 3 girls from Detroit into the biggest female group in America. But behind the matching gowns, Motown was quietly pushing Diana Ross to the front of every song, and people close to Florence describe her sliding into depression and heavy drinking as she watched her own group's spotlight move away from her. She was pushed out of the Supremes in 1967, lost a lawsuit against the label she helped build, and by the early 70s had lost her home to foreclosure, leaving a founding member of one of the biggest acts on earth, broke and hidden from public view. She died of cardiac arrest in February 1976 at only 32 years old, right as she was quietly trying to rebuild the career fame had taken from her. Real talk for a second. If a story like Florence's is landing somewhere it did not used to, that means you are actually paying attention. And that is exactly why I need you to hit subscribe right now, because every story on this list takes hours of fact-checking, and you do not want to miss the next one. All right, back to the countdown. Number 10, Etta James, I'd Rather Go Blind, 1967.
Whoa, and your warm embrace.
Etta James gave the world one of the most heartbroken vocals ever recorded with I'd Rather Go Blind in 1967. And that pain in her voice was not just performance. By the mid-60s, she was addicted to heroin, and at her worst, she and a friend went through roughly 150 capsules of the drug in a single week just to keep functioning.
Walk away from me, babe.
She was arrested multiple times and spent 17 months inside Tarzana Psychiatric Hospital, cycling through addiction on and off for more than 2 decades before finally getting clean for good in the late 1980s.
Blind girl, babe.
Every time that song plays now, you are hearing a woman who genuinely lived every ounce of that ache before she finally found her way out.
Down in my soul, said gone and cry.
Number 9, Gil Scott-Heron, The Bottle, 1974.
It's gonna be me. Sing the song. Na, 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 na.
Gil Scott-Heron is often called the godfather of rap, and in 1974 he literally wrote a warning song about addiction called The Bottle, years before that same warning became his own life.
Oh man, committed a crime. He's doing time. Now she's hanging in a box.
By the 80s, he was addicted to crack cocaine and essentially disappeared from public view for over a decade, a stretch friends still describe as him being lost inside his own demons. He was arrested and jailed multiple times for drug possession well into his 50s, and by his final years, people close to him say he was still using and physically frail right up until his death in 2011. The hardest part of this story is that he wrote the warning first and lived it second, and the song never once stopped being true. Number 8, Donna Summer, She Works Hard for the Money, 1983. The world crowned Donna Summer the Queen of Disco, and by 1983 She Works Hard for the Money had made her a global anthem for working women everywhere. But privately she was carrying trauma from being sexually abused by her childhood pastor, something she did not speak about publicly for decades. In 1976, at the height of her earlier fame, that hidden pain became so heavy that Donna nearly jumped from a New York hotel window, only stopped when her foot caught the curtain and a maid walked in at that exact second. She later said in her own words that another 10 seconds and she would have been gone, which makes that working woman anthem sound very different once you know what she survived to sing it. Number 7, David Ruffin, My Girl, 1965. David Ruffin's voice carried the Temptations to the top of the charts, and his lead vocal on My Girl in 1965 remains one of the most beloved recordings in American music. But his struggle with drugs reportedly began that same decade, and it followed him for the rest of his life, through arrests, rehab stints, and a very public downfall that overshadowed his talent. On June 1, 1991, David collapsed inside a Philadelphia crack house and was driven unconscious to a hospital emergency room, where he died from what doctors ruled an accidental overdose, with only $53 found in his pockets. His family has said for years the headlines about the drugs erased the man who gave My Girl its soul, and that trade-off, unmatched talent against an addiction he never escaped, defines his entire story. Number 6, Teddy Pendergrass, In My Time, 1984. Pendergrass was one of the most electric performers in soul music, the first black male artist to release 5 straight platinum albums, until a car crash on March 18, 1982 broke his neck and left him paralyzed from the chest down. In his own autobiography, Teddy admitted that in the darkest days after the accident, he asked his wife to give him an overdose of sleeping pills because he genuinely did not believe he could survive living like this. For months, he refused rehabilitation and battled deep depression until the day he tested his own voice and realized, broken neck and all, that he could still sing. 2 years later, he opened his comeback album Love Language with In My Time, a raw song of reflection that became his first new recording since the crash, proof that his voice and his will to live had survived something that should have silenced both for good.
It all fell into place. I found what I was searching.
Number 5. Paul Williams, I Wish It Would Rain, 1968. Paul Williams was the original lead singer and the choreographer who built The Temptations' entire stage presence, and it was his aching lead vocal carrying I Wish It Would Rain to the top of the charts in 1968. What most fans never knew was that Paul was secretly battling sickle cell anemia, a painful chronic illness he hid even from some of his own bandmates, drinking heavily just to survive the pain and pressure of constant touring. His declining health forced him out of the group in 1971, and just 2 years later, on August 17, 1973, Paul was found dead in a Detroit alley from a gunshot wound, officially ruled a suicide, after telling his brothers in the group for months that he was struggling with those exact thoughts. Play I Wish It Would Rain today, and you are not hearing a performance. You are hearing a man who was already asking for help in real time. Number 4. Marvin Gaye, Sexual Healing, 1982. Marvin Gaye gave the world What's Going On, one of the greatest albums ever made. But behind that visionary voice was a man secretly battling depression, paranoia, and cocaine addiction for most of his adult life. In 1969, Motown founder Berry Gordy reportedly had to physically stop Marvin from shooting himself, and by 1979 he tried again, swallowing a full ounce of cocaine in a single hour because he believed it would be a slower, gentler way to go. His 1982 hit Sexual Healing was actually written as a form of self-therapy while Marvin was isolated and depressed in Belgium, a suggestion from a collaborator meant to help pull him out of the darkest place he had ever been in. Just days before his death, Marvin jumped from a moving car at high speed in another attempt on his own life, and on April 1, 1984, one day before his 45th birthday, he was fatally shot by his own father, inside the very home he had bought for his parents. Number 3, Nina Simone, Feeling Good, 1965.
Feeling good.
Nina Simone commanded a stage like almost no one else in music history, but for decades she battled violent, unexplained mood swings that even she could not fully understand, alongside real depression and suicidal thoughts documented later in her own diaries.
Drifting on by, you know how I feel.
It was not until the late 1980s, after years of professional turmoil, that doctors in the Netherlands finally identified what she had privately been fighting all along: bipolar disorder.
Out in the sun, you know what I mean, don't you know?
She was prescribed medication to manage it, but the treatment came with a real cost, slowing her hands and her speech, and changing the very instrument the world had fallen in love with.
What I mean, sleep in peace.
And through all of it, she still gave us Feeling Good in 1965, a song about a brand new dawn and a brand new day, written and performed by a woman who spent her whole life still searching for her own.
Stars, when you shine, you know how I feel.
Number 2. Phyllis Hyman, Living All Alone, 1986. Phyllis Hyman stood 6 feet tall on stage with a 4-octave voice that made critics compare her to jazz royalty. And in 1986, she released Living All Alone, a song about isolation that fans assumed was just a great performance. It was not. For years, she privately battled bipolar disorder and depression. She hid behind that commanding presence. And in 1993, she lost her mother and grandmother within 1 month of each other. A loss friends say sent her into a downward spiral of alcohol and cocaine. On June 30th, 1995, just hours before she was scheduled to perform at the Apollo Theater, Phyllis took her own life inside her New York City apartment, leaving behind a note that read, in part, "I'm tired, I'm tired."
And we share this apartment together.
Living All Alone was never fiction. It was Phyllis telling the audience exactly how she felt, years before anyone understood what she meant.
Feels good to have somebody love you right.
Number 1. Donny Hathaway, Someday We'll All Be Free, 1973.
Your manly pride.
Donny Hathaway had one of the most technically flawless voices soul music has ever produced. The kind of talent that made Roberta Flack, Aretha Franklin, and Stevie Wonder personally want to work beside him.
We'll all be free.
But in his 20s, Donny was diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia, and for the rest of his life, he privately battled hallucinations, severe depression, and repeated hospitalizations that he mostly kept hidden from the public that loved him. In 1973, during one of his clearer periods, he recorded Someday We'll All Be Free, written specifically to help pull him out of his darkest moments, and it remains one of the most quietly powerful songs about hope ever released in soul music. On January 13, 1979, after an episode of paranoia cut short a recording session with Roberta Flack, Donny fell to his death from the 15th floor window of a New York City hotel. A death ruled a suicide, and the world lost one of its purest voices to a battle almost nobody outside his inner circle even knew he was fighting. 17 legendary voices from one golden era, 17 quiet battles most fans never even knew were happening in real time. If any part of this hit closer to home than you expected, please know that in the United States you can call or text 988 for the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline, and if you are outside the U.S., please look up your local crisis line. It is there for exactly this moment. This has been R&BGROOVELore. Subscribe for more real music history. Tell me in the comments which soul legend you think deserves this treatment next, and I will see you in the next one.